Hello and welcome to vlog number 6. It is engineering day and Justin the mechanic has been here since the crack of dawn this morning, well, about 9 o'clock, doing all sorts of things. There's an extensive list of things that need doing and 12 items on that list. In fact, he's been very busy all morning. He's just nipped off to get some parts, but he's about to do the fitting. As you can see, the gas locker is open. He's about to fit the automatic switchover valve between the two gas bottles, and he's gone off to get some parts to make a bracket for that. Meanwhile, he has had a very busy morning, including replacing the 4 flexible engine mounts, because the old ones apparently a bit tired and worn out. They're a bit like shock absorbers, kind of, on a car, except they isolate the engine from the boat, so while it's going jig 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 jig, it should make the boat vibrate less. Anyway, we've got shiny new ones of those on. What else has he done? It's changed the stuffing box. Now this is where the prop shaft goes from the engine through the hull to the propeller. And obviously you don't want things going through the hull normally. That would let water in. So you have this box that is sort of stuffed with stuff and it stops the water coming out. Anyway, the old one was leaking. There was a lot of water in the bilge, so he's put a new, more suitable one on. You are still supposed to get, I am reliably informed, a little bit of leakage, just a drip or two every now and again, and that's why you have a little bilge pump down there to pump that out every now and again. But you don't want to tighten it up so tight that there are no drips, otherwise apparently it does bad things to the prop shaft. It's all very complicated, but basically you're looking for a couple of drips rather than a big gush. And of course the rather frightening test of that will be when the boat actually goes back in the water. As the end dips down, I will be peering into the back end of the boat and making sure that there's not, you know, springing a leak. I'm sure it'll be absolutely fine, but I may, I'm told, need to tighten up the nuts on the end of that stuffing box. That's something to look forward to. What else have we got down there? Secure a fuel pipe, retension the alternator drive belt. We'll be doing that as part of the engine service this afternoon, and I'm going to be watching very closely on the engine service because of course I won't necessarily, while out on the canal network, be anywhere near to an engineer to do it for me, and besides which I should be able to do this kind of stuff myself. I used to change the oil and filter on my old Ford Fiesta, albeit that was about 30 years ago, but it's much the same, I'm sure, on this engine. You change the oil, you change the filter, you change the air filter, you change possibly the diesel fuel filter, and these are largely screw-on, screw-off items. So I'm going to watch him do that and then hopefully be confident enough to have a go at that myself when the next time is due. So where were we? Alternator belt, there's a loose exhaust joint he's been sorting out. Adjust the gearbox oil level to the correct level. Apparently it has been overfilled, and overfilling a gearbox is just as bad as underfilling it, so we need to take a bit of that out. I don't know if we actually swap the gearbox oil as part of the service, but I imagine we do, and I shall obviously watch that as well. Perform the gearbox service, replace the LPG regulator to a switchover type. That's what's happening on the gas locker behind me, and will be when he comes back. Fit a Purifiner diesel filter. Now there is already a diesel fuel filter from the tank to the engine, but I figure you can never have too many filters because any bits of muck in the fuel will potentially cause the engine to splutter and stop, and you really don't want that when you're in the middle of a tunnel, say. So there is this filter called a Purifiner filter that gets all the muck out and also supposedly gets any water that has condensed in the tank and gone into the fuel. That should come out as well. So he's going to fit me one of those. There was a Duff split charge relay that takes the output from the alternator and puts it into the battery banks, and it wasn't really working. If you tapped it with a screwdriver, it would work. Well, I don't want something you have to tap with a screwdriver to make it work, so he's already swapped out the split charge relay for a new one. There's a fuse to be fitted in the DC line from the battery charger, and then also, final point, point 12, fit the Adverc controller, which if you watched my last video you'll have seen me reference. Well, that has now been fitted very neatly, I must say, to the side of a compartment where you find all the batteries, and it again basically controls the charge coming from the alternator to the batteries to ensure they are charged in tip-top condition. That's what Justin's been up to. Meanwhile, I've been having a little go at painting, a very hesitant go, in part because there are some very ominous clouds overhead and we keep getting little hints of rain, and I don't really want to be doing painting which requires multiple coats if it's going to start spotting with rain. But also, I think really, given the number of spots, I need a power tool. And the problem with a power tool is A, I don't have one to sand all the old paint off, but B, in the middle of this yard there is no power. So I'm probably going to have to buy a generator as well, or a cordless one with lots of batteries. Anyway, it's stuff I don't have. It's always the way you turn up keen and enthusiastic to do a job, and then you go, yeah, I haven't actually got the right tools for that. So it's quite frustrating, because I do need to get it done really while the boat is out before it goes back in the water. It's going to be a lot easier to do it here than it will be once it's floating, but I'm going to need a tool to sand all the old paint off. And then I did a little bit of it by hand, and I did try touching it up with the Hammerite. I had lots of very helpful advice from that last video. Thank you if you were one of the people who commented on that and gave me suggestions. The trouble is I'm not going to be here long enough between now and the boat going back in the water to do a really good multiple coats professional job. So I'm going to have to slightly bodge it, I think, with Hammerite and just slap it over the rust. And that will have to do for the first 6 months or so, till we come through to next summer, and I can hopefully do a better job. And besides which, when I take the boat out for its first few journeys, I'm going to end up bashing into everything, aren't I? I mean, it's just inevitable. I'm a novice at the narrowboating. I'm going to end up hitting bridges, other boats, cows, all sorts of stuff, and it's just going to scrape off the new paint. So I'm not too worried about the fact that actually with the Hammerite you can kind of see, well, not kind of, you can easily see where I've patched it up. It's stupidly Hammerite hammered finish, not Hammerite smooth, which makes it even more obvious that I've slapped a bit of a touch up on. But look, I've had a go, and surely it's better to have some paint on the rusty patches than no paint at all. That's my thinking. It's just got to get me through winter and through my first few months on the boat, making a hash of things, and then perhaps I can do a better job next year. Right, that's enough of me chattering away. Hope this was of interest. As always, if it was, give it a click on the thumbs up. If it wasn't, give it a click on the thumbs down, but that will make me very sad, so please don't. And any comments, questions or suggestions, by all means drop them into the comments box below. Thank you as always for watching. See you next time. Bye bye.